Feel free to share with us.
So
And tell us something cool about you, alright?
Something cool about me?
Yeah.
So
Well, after you introduce yourself.
Currently right now I'm a PHP developer at Union Square Media. And I mostly do PHP, a lot of the back-end stuff, and then a lot of the front-end stuff, at least for my side of the project at my company. Something cool about me? I don't know. I used to play arena football back in the days when I was young. So Patrick gave me the opportunity to kind of give this talk. I'm not a pro at Laravel or anything like that, so if you guys see something wrong, feel free to let me know or correct me, whatever you guys think. And then if you guys have any questions, just feel free to throw them out there as we go. So basically, the way I got into Laravel, started working at this job. They had a Laravel project. I kind of touched it a little bit on the front end, didn't really do that much on the back end. Everything was kind of crazy because I was just thrown in there, didn't know anything about it. And then so happens that the guy that was handling the project, he was let go, so then I was next in line to inherit the project. So I kind of had to get up to speed with it and try to figure out everything about it. So Patrick gave me the opportunity to kind of give this talk. Has anybody worked with Laravel before? Did you have anybody else? All right, so it seems like a lot, or it is a lot, but once you get the basics down, everything rolls smoothly. So basically, it's a powerful framework designed to build web applications, and it kind of follows the MVC architecture model. All right. So basically, to run Laravel, you need PHP 5.6 or above, and then basically you need Composer. Is everybody familiar with Composer?
Yes.
You guys are. I'm pretty sure you are. It's a package dependency manager for PHP. So you guys ever heard of Node or NPM and stuff like that? It's kind of the same thing for backend. All right, and then once you have Composer installed, you move your Composer FAR file to your bin directory Composer, and then, or if you're on the Windows, you add the path to your environment settings. All right, and then there's several ways of getting Laravel up and going. You can do it with Composer. Once you have Composer installed, you go to your project, install. You run the Composer global require and then Laravel installer, and then you're able to run Laravel in a matter of seconds. There's also several other options, which is Laravel Homestead. You can use Artisan, you can use Docker, or you can use man for WAN. All right. So with Artisan, it's the same thing. I don't know if you guys can see that. You guys probably can't. But once you have Laravel installed, you can kind of run PHP Artisan. And Artisan is kind of like the command line tool for Laravel. So it makes things like building controllers, migrating your DB and stuff like that. You can even have a certain command that lets you kind of run functions, kind of tinker around. It's called Artisan Tinker. But basically you run this command and then you run PHP Artisan serve and you're up and running. It'll give you, perfect. It'll give you your URL, which is basically your localhost, and then you can go to that web address and access your project. And that'll be an example. You can use Laravel Homestead, which basically is the official pre-packaged Vagrant box. I don't know how many of you guys know what Vagrant is. Kind of a VM, just a VM. But basically the official pre-packaged box for it. So you can do it that way. I'm not big on VMs, so I went a different route. I decided to go with Docker, and I used an image called Laravel. So basically, it's a full PHP environment, and it'll run on top of your system. You don't need any VMs or anything like that. And the reason I also chose this one is because with Docker, I don't know if you guys know what Docker is, but basically you just run this command if you have Docker installed. You download the image and then you run the command to kind of get it up and running, and it'll run in a matter of seconds. So just to give you guys an example of that. So I already have Docker installed. I downloaded the repo for Laravel, and then I'm just gonna start this. It'll start loading my containers and my workspace, and then basically I have my setup. So it doesn't matter if my laptop is running PHP, 5.2 or whatever, it's still gonna work. So just to give you an example of that, I can kind of go into my workspace and then run PHP Artisan. And you'll have all these commands. So these are the commands I was talking about with PHP, with Artisan. And you have a whole list of commands there. And then if I go to my localhost, that's basically it. So there you go. In a matter of seconds, you have a Laravel project up and running. And basically, you can start off from there. So once you have everything installed, you have your file structure, and we're just going to go over the basics, which is controllers, views, and storage, and then your .env file. But this is basically how it looks. Now, there's a ton of different files in there. Don't worry about everything. We're just going to worry about controllers, the resources, which includes your assets and your views, your routes, and your .env file. All right, and basically with that, you can go really far with just those few files. All right, so your .env file basically has your configuration for your environment. Now this is pretty cool. This is one of the reasons I like Laravel. That'll have most of your settings. So if I go, let me show you an example. Project, kill this. So basically, you can set up your DB there. You can give it your password. You can set up your, if you have a staging DB, you can set up your staging DB. If you're using Redis, you can set up Redis as well. Now, this can vary from developer to developer. So at work or at my company, basically what we do is we have one file on our local computer, which is our staging DB, and then on the server we have another env file with all the production DB information. So, and then I could also go and switch it out if I wanted to. So if I'm testing something or making changes, I'll also have the information, but I'll have it commented out with a hashtag, and then I'll just kind of switch it out and test the live server or the live DB, and then make changes there as well, and see if my changes worked as well. This file, by the way, you never commit. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk is about routing, and basically these are your defined routes or your directories for your project. So I know you guys can't really see that that well, but basically it'll look something like this. You'll have your web.php file, and that'll define your routes. So automatically, when we went to localhost, our home page, basically that's what the route is saying. It's gonna get it and it's gonna go to that home page or your default index page or what so, and then it's just gonna return a view, which in this case is welcome. And then I'll get into views a little bit, but basically that's all it's doing. You can even define more routes. So if I wanted to add an about, I would just add a slash about and then return a closure, give it a closure, and then it'll return whatever you tell it to. So here I just told it to return a heading that says about Laravel. So if I go to the site, hopefully I didn't make any changes. Oh, I did. Hold on. I know where it is. Alright. So hopefully, so about Laravel. And that's pretty simple. And you can keep on going deep into it. You can add a contact page and then define the route and then that'll be your other page. So if I did contact and I said contact page, and then you have your contact page. So that's as simple as it gets. And then you could even go even deeper in that. You can kind of, let me show you an example. You can kind of group routes together. So again, at my company, we have Ajax calls. So what we have is we'll group together a bunch of Ajax routes, and then that's kind of like the URL. So instead of like this one said slash say about, it'll be slash Ajax slash I don't know landing page, and then whatever else it is. So so it kind of looks like that. So we have a prefix, and then it'll be Ajax blog, and then the actual page is blog, and then whatever closure you needed to run or function you needed to run. So you can kind of return just regular HTML in there, which you kind of saw here. If you're building a simple site, I guess that works, but the whole idea of Laravel is to keep everything clean and separate. So you can kind of return views, which I kind of gave you an example right here. And then which is the next topic, and then views are kind of like your templates, your pages you want to display. So a view can be really simple. It could be your HTML, your body, and then your hello world or whatever text you wanted in there. And basically they're located in the resources views directory. So you'll go here, resources, close that up. You have views, and then you'll have your views. So the first one we saw on the default page is the view you're kind of seeing there, and that's what gets displayed. And then if you have a second, it'll be like that as well. So it's pretty simple, none too crazy. You could also pass data to your views as well. So say you wanted to give it some functions or something like that, or you had an array, a list of tasks, or I don't know, a menu navbar. You can kind of like pass it and then kind of throw it in there with a couple of functions. So if you have this return, you can kind of say title and intro to Laravel, and that'll get passed on to the view you have. you can return it with this with function, and Laravel has a ton of helper functions. So this is basically telling it like, hey, grab this page and also return this page with this information. And this is kind of like telling it like the index title, and then the value is whatever text you have in there. The same thing you can do about the about page, and you can return a whole bunch of information, a couple of variables and an array, and then kind of like compact it. And basically what compact does, it kind of tells it like, you could have put in it like this, title equals title, group equals group, but compact just says grab an index called title and put the value title into that as well. Any questions so far? So if I show you an example of that, it'll kind of look like this. So if I kind of remove this one, and then you can go to give me 1 second.
Is this connected to the source tree?
Say it again?
Is this connected to source tree?
No. I know what's the problem. It isn't that. Oh wait, I know what's the problem. I'll kind of show you. Here's next. I kind of show you. I know what's the problem. But basically, once you have your data in your routes, then you can pass it to your views, kind of like that. So you can do a PHP echo title, PHP echo group. And then you can kind of, the same thing in your views, you can kind of like for each it, section as sections, or do it, for loop it however you want. And then it'll kind of print out everything you needed to print out. So if, wait. So, kind of like I said, it'll print out everything. That's all the data we pass to it. And if you're using like SQL or whatever you guys want to use. Same thing. There's a bunch of helper functions for SQL or for running queries, and you can do the same thing. Manipulate the data if you want, and then pass it to the view that way. So basically, just with that, you can really go like a long way with Laravel. You can get a site up and running, in a day, half a day or so, and with a lot of functionality to it. So also, Laravel includes its own templating engine. So it's called Blade, and it's basically like the official templating engine for Laravel. So PHP itself is a templating language as well, but it's kind of repetitive and verbose. So instead of doing all this, which is opening the PHP tag, closing them, and then your if condition will do something, and then again open and close the PHP tag, you can kind of do this: add if, your conditional do something, and then add and if, and then basically that's the same thing. It'll compile that into this. The same thing, and basically with any PHP code, you can do the Blade way as well. So you can do a for each and do it this way instead of doing it that way, and it'll work the same. If you wanted to echo out a variable instead of doing PHP echo variable, you put 2 brackets, and then that's kind of the same thing as saying echo your variable out. Or instead of require, include your layout, layouts.nav.bar_bar.php, just say layouts.nav, and that'll work as well. And then if you kind of notice here, I didn't have to include the PHP or the blade.php. So Blade and Laravel are smart enough to know that we're talking about a template file here. So this is another example, and this is a template. You don't have to do all the the opening, closing PHP tag. You can do it pretty simple like that, pretty clean, fast and easy. And kind of like I mentioned as well, Blade templates, they're all extended with the .blade.php template, but when you call it, you don't have to include the .blade.php. And if it's in a directory, kind of like, it's always in the views, but if it's in another subdirectory, layouts dot whatever it is, footer or header, and you'll be good. And you can keep on going deep as you want. So then with Blade, you also have like different helpers you can do, which is yield, section, extent, and includes. So kind of like PHP, usually, for most projects, I guess most people would create a footer and a header, and then kind of keep that in a separate like subdirectory, layouts, and then include that file into every other page you have, your about page, your home page, your contact page, and stuff like that. With Laravel and with Blade, you can kind of do that, but you really don't need to. You can kind of do a yield content. So basically, this is my main view, and then I'll do a yield content. And basically, that kind of tells your app, anything that's wrapped around in a section called content, include that into this main view. So whenever you go to about, it'll kind of load this template, but load the about view. And I'll give you an example of that right now. This is the main view I was talking about. You have your HTML, your open up tags, your CSS, which probably should never go in the header. And then you have your body. This is your header, you'll have your footer, and you have your yield content. And basically I created where's the layouts at? My nav and my footer, and I included it in the main file. And then I'm also going to yield content. So basically now if I go to my about, it's always going to include it extends main, which is the main template I was talking about, and then it's wrapped in the section content. So now if I go to, and I did the same thing for about version, which kind of show you an example. I'll do this, H1 version. So that was my about, and then, which one was that called? Wait, did I create a route for that? No. About version and return view. So you have that one, and then and then that's the about version. So it's using the same main template, but just that body section is being replaced with whatever view you're targeting. Cool? Any questions? And you can kind of go as, you can kind of like mix it up as well. Say if you had a specific like JS section, or you had specific CSS you wanted to add to the page, you can kind of do the same thing, section footer, and it's going to apply it to this page or view, but don't apply it to the next one.
I have a question about Blade.
Cool.
Can I declare global rules in Blade because I want to use in another file in JavaScript or one rule about a method, so I can declare this global rule in Blade?
Global rules meaning as far as?
So I have a rule to controller in my web point M in Laravel. So I want to use this rule for a method, but I need to make a method in Ajax, for example.
Okay.
So I have my function in Ajax in another file, and I need to use it in this Blade template. How can I use this rule? How can I declare this rule?
I'm going to show you that next. If I'm understanding your question right, is the next step is controllers, which you would use a controller to kind of target whatever method or whatever function you want to use for that specific view. Let me know if that answers your question.
We turn a controller and then take a decision and
Yeah, you could. I'll kind of show you right now. So, so basically, the next step is controllers, which is basically like classes, or a group of functions grouped together, and basically they're always located in the app HTTP controllers directory. So, if you go here, HTTP, and then you'll have your controllers here. So it's basically pretty simple. This is the controller. You have your namespace. you'll declare your class. The about controller extends the controller method, which is provided by Laravel, and then you can call any functions you want, your about function, and do whatever you needed to do. So just a little cheat. Remember I was telling you about Artisan and its commands? So you can kind of like use the make command and create a controller that way, and Laravel will set it up for you. So you don't have to go create the file, kind of set up, you know, type in your class and do all that stuff. You type in this and it'll do it for you automatically. So with that, you could also use it together with routes. So instead of using, you know, what I kind of said, defining a function or closure inside the route, you could kind of give it that controller and whatever method or function you want to use, and that'll be specifically for that page. So another example of that would be, I'll delete, oh, I took out the about. So if I take out, use that about, and that one has a controller, which is here, pretty simple controller. It has a bunch of information in it, and then you can also return the view as well. So instead of having it in that main file, the web app file, and doing all this, returning the view, you could just give it the controller, which is the actual class, and then the method you want to use, and that handles everything. So, about page controller, we have that, that's our method. If I go to about, and that basically handles everything. So if you want to target something or do an Ajax call, you can kind of do it in the controller. I don't know if that answers your question.
No.
And it'll only be applied to that page.
For example, I have my function in Ajax in another file, not
Okay.
in blade file. So I have to call this method in the control from a rule. But in the Ajax file, I cannot use the rule because it's Ajax, it's JavaScript file.
Right.
So in Symfony, another framework, you have to declare a global rule in the HTML file. And so you can use it in the JavaScript file, this root.
Right.
And you can call any method from the controller. I don't know how can I do. I can do that in Laravel.
I know the way we do it is like we'll have a route, and that route will point to a page which runs at Ajax. So kind of an example of that would be here, and that Ajax calls a controller, change status, and then everything will get run there. Especially, and then if we need to like run another Ajax, or go to a different file inside that controller, we'll send it there. So I'm not sure if that answers your question. If not, like, I guess after, let me see if I can find an example of that on here. And then inside your kind of your controllers, you can do your SQL calls, manipulate your data, do whatever you need to do, and then that'll kind of display it on the page. And kind of, I'm a front-end guy a lot, so one of the things I like about Laravel has a big ecosystem. So one of the things they bring in is Laravel Mix, which is kind of like a wrapper around Webpack to kind of help you compile or run scripts on your JavaScript or your CSS. So basically, all you need to make sure is you have Node.js installed and npm, and then you'll run npm install. Everything's already set up, by the way, so you don't have to do any configurations or anything like that. your package built JSON, everything's already set up. You can use Boost SAS, you can use less if you wanted to. If you're into Post CSS, you can use Post CSS, you can add stuff. It comes with Vue installed already, and then it gives you a couple of scripts to run. So you have your dev, your watch, your production, that'll compile everything you wanted to do. So if you needed to make a change, say in the app CSS file, or in the SAS CSS file, sorry, you'll come here, add it, I don't know, HTML, background red. And you can run npm run dev, and then that'll compile everything for you. Just give it a couple of seconds, and it'll start like building up everything. And then everything compiled, it'll tell you, you know, if you have JS, if you have CSS, or whatever else you have in there. And then this already came, Laravel already came with Bootstrap installed. But if we go to the CSS file, this where I added the background of red. If we go to the CSS file all the way down at the bottom, and it's there. So it'll do everything for you. Also, on a side note, Laravel also has error logs. So if you need to get in there, this is our dev server at work. So if you go to storage, logs, what did I type? And then any error logs will show up there. And the reason I know this is the hard way. A couple of weeks ago, we were having an issue. We were going through all the PHP error logs and didn't find anything that caused the issue. And come to find out, we forgot that Laravel had his own error logs, and you know, it kind of spits out everything you need. So if you do Laravel 11, 15, and it'll kind of give you, you know, a whole bunch of error logs. Any questions?
Can I use the book in Laravel for working in NetBeans, for example?
The NetBeans?
See it?
Yeah, you probably could. I'm pretty sure you could.
I have, the last day I have studied about, looking for about a debug for Laravel, and I found one, I don't remember, like Laravel debug bar. But for me, it doesn't have the main tool for debug Laravel. I think that is incomplete.
I mean, usually what we do is, we use the error logs, and now we debug PHP Storm debug, and that works as well, the debugger on PHP Storm. So, and then if you guys need any resources, there's Laravel doc. The Laravel docs are really well written. They're easy, you know, to read, self-explanatory. You have the Larachat, which is a Slack channel and a podcast. You have Laravel News, and then you have a couple of courses, Laracast, which is really good. You have Code Course, is another one that's really good, and then you have Treehouse, which, okay. Any questions? And that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Good job. Yeah, good job, Eddie. So the first time speaking? Good job.
Oh, also, Laravel has this pretty cool thing, which I use this a lot too. But if you're dealing with like users and stuff like that, like this is one of the tools we have for one of our internal tools. And right now I'm logged in as Eddie Solar, right? But Laravel has this function which is login as user ID, and then the ID is 38. So if I come refresh this page, now I'm logged in as Chris, whoever that is. And then you can go back and forth, and we use that a lot for testing as well. That's pretty much it.
Okay.